Tom, how are you, man?
Doing great. How are you, man?
Good, good. Getting ready to start another YouTube talk, movie talk. So,
Indeed. And I'm going to take a page from your book.
okay.
I have already decided what our next movie is going to
Oh,
be.
sweet,
And,
sweet,
and I will let you know at the end of the video.
cool, cool, awesome. Yep, and of course we have behind us both. We have the
Mhm.
one we're talking about this week. This one is my pick, but I'm going to let you introduce it.
Yeah,
Um,
this movie is HUD, the 1963 Paul Newman classic. And I say Paul Newman, but Paul Newman, Patricia Neal,
yeah,
Melvin Douglas, and even Brandon DeWild. They
yeah.
all give great performances.
They do. And Brandon DeWild actually died rather young.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he died 9 years after this movie.
yeah, it was actually sad because he probably would have had a much bigger career. But
Yeah,
but Paul Newman definitely he dominates the movie. But then again, so does Patricia Neal.
we're going to differ on this, but we'll
Okay.
get into it.
All right.
For anyone that has not seen this movie, I had not seen this movie.
Really? Okay.
It's the tale of an American ranching family in like 1950s,
Yeah.
1960s West,
Yep.
where how things were as a traditional ranch were changing.
Yep.
And so you had I feel like the main thing was a generational conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. There was definitely that. There was also there certainly was a morality. There's a very big morality thing in this.
I've
Um,
heard that mentioned, but I don't know because at the end of the movie, no one has changed. Everyone is who they are, and no one's punished for the things they've done.
yeah, but no one's punished. But there is, I definitely differ with you on the morality part of it because, um, first of all, the father, and it is a generational thing, but the father definitely lives by a different moral code,
Mhm.
and his his nephew, or Paul Newman's nephew, actually he admires and looks up to Paul Newman and Paul Newman's character, but he admires the fact that he's a stud, he's a fighter, he's a drinker, he's like every like he's the father says it best at one point. He says men admire him and want to be like him. Woman want him and they chase after him. And he has no he lives by no like moral code, and that makes him not fit to live with. And
Mhm.
and
So,
it's very,
so, so
very
um,
true.
again, as further explanation, because
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to talk about this movie because the movie it is more of a personality interplay than an actual story.
yeah,
But to set it up, the players are uh, the father or grandfather, the owner of the ranch, Homer. His the one of his sons, he had two. One of them died. Paul Newman or HUD is the other son, and then his grandson is working on the ranch as a ranch hand, Lonnie.
yeah, yeah,
And then to round out the cast, Patricia Neal is basically their housekeeper.
yeah, yeah. A very sultry housekeeper. Um, and yeah, it's uh, it's quite a mix. It's quite an acting mix. Um, there's Patricia Neal right there behind me, and that's a younger uh, picture of her. But she's beautiful. She's sultry. She's got a cigarette voice, and she's definitely a woman of the world. She's been around. There's Paul Newman, and Paul Newman is really trying to nail her during the movie, and he at one point he's like really putting the moves on her, and she says, and he's like, why don't you go with me? And she says, I already had one cold-blooded bastard. I don't need another. And so yeah, it's there's tons of sultry scenes, and including one that's actually a rather vicious scene that probably would have been a rape scene had Lonnie not interfered, because Paul Newman comes in drunk and really going after her, and it would have turned probably ugly. And that was probably the worst moment where Paul Newman's involved, but probably at its worst.
So there aren't many drivers of the story. I mean, Newman Hud is a jerk,
Yeah,
but like
but a very
he doesn't
charming
seem,
jerk.
he doesn't seem to have really any ambition. There's no goals he's going after. He's not trying to do anything. Likewise, Lonnie is trying to develop into adulthood. He's trying to become his own person.
Yeah,
And the two role models that he has, the two father figures, are dramatically opposite from each other. His
Yeah.
grandfather and Hud.
yeah.
But
Well,
again, there's nothing he's trying to do over the course of the movie. The one
yeah, there is. He's trying to drink and get drunk, and he's trying to get laid. That's Paul Newman's biggest ambitions, and he wants money the easy way. That's listen, I love Paul Newman in this. I think he was fantastic, unbelievable. I mean, I love his acting roles, and this is probably one of his greatest ones. He plays to me a man that's, again, as much as I like Paul Newman, he plays a man who he's somebody that when you really begin to see who he is, you recoil at who he is, because this scene behind us is one of the driving things that's going on in the movie, and that is when the cows get hoof and mouth disease.
right.
And the father, again, right behind my head, the father wants to do the right thing because he is a moral man, and he contacts the government agency because hoof and mouth, once it starts to spread,
It's no joke.
it's no joke. Not even today, it can still have outbreaks, and even today it can be a threat. But back then, it was a real threat, and so the government was really coming down. And they never got into it in the movie, but the government will compensate you for like 50% of your losses, but that's nothing. I mean, that's not enough.
Oh yeah, it's a financially devastating thing. I
Yeah.
have to say, if the I am not a fan of this movie.
Really, I love the movie. Yeah,
If the movie focused a little more on the grandfather and his struggle with the ranch,
yeah.
I think I would have been more interested.
Well, I mean, the way I look at the movie, if you didn't have HUD and you didn't have what was going on with him, um, you wouldn't see like how good the father was, how even how good Lonnie ends up being, because Lonnie has a real fight in this movie. He's got a real morality fight himself, because he is coming of age, and he loves his grandfather dearly. He loves HUD, and he he's heard all this stuff about his father and how HUD and the father were used to rip it up and go out drinking and whoring and the whole bit. And so he's got this whole thing about becoming a man and admiring all this stuff. And then he starts to really see what HUD is really like. And when he starts to really see who he is as a man, that's when he starts to sour on him. And that's what ends up happening in the end. But I mean, this is a scene right here. He's coming to get HUD. That's HUD's car behind him. And he's at a married woman's house, and he's just gotten in there, and he's spent the night with the woman, and he's coming to get him, and the husband comes home. And what does HUD do? But he says, the guy says, "Who's coming out of my house?" and this morning, and he says, "Well, I don't want to get him in trouble, but it was Lonnie." And it's, and he puts him right on the spot. But it's like I said, it's that Lonnie ends up beginning to see, and when he really starts to see it is when HUD starts coming after the father, because he at one point he goes to a lawyer, and he decides that he's going to have the father declared
He
incompetent.
he threatens that. I
Yeah.
never heard any lawyer visit definitively. I
Well,
don't
I
I
thought he
did not
actually,
get the idea. I got the idea he thought about it and he threatened it. I do not get the idea that he even started to go through with it.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how deep he got into that. I do know there was that one scene where he put some money in Lonnie's pocket and he said, "You go enjoy yourself. There's going to be a lot more." Where that came from, and then when the father does die, he when he's actually really sick and he's laying there dying, the Lonnie's saying, "We're going to get you help," and he's going, "No, it's not. I'm all done. It's not worth it." And he looks over at HUD and he says, "HUD's waiting on me, and HUD ain't a patient man." I mean, there's that's another thing about this movie. There's some great lines. The lines that are in this movie, every one of them could have been like a great line in a million other movies. There were so many good lines.
So here's where we're going to differ on who the star of this movie was.
Okay, sure.
Because, well, undeniably, every single one of the cast members gave a great performance.
Yeah.
The grandfather, Melvin Douglas, in
Oh
my
yeah,
mind, blew
yeah,
everyone out
yes,
of the water.
yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to fight you on that at all. I absolutely, unbelievable performance. Any won Best Supporting Actor
Yep. Yep.
that year. And I mean, Paul Newman was up for Best Actor, I believe, but the one who won, the winner of the Academy Award, and actually Brandon DeWild actually accepted the award for him, but yeah,
Yeah,
he won.
I think everyone won. No, it was just Patricia Neal and Melvin Douglas.
Oh, okay, did she win also? Yeah,
She
because
won Best Actress, and this award is notable in that she had the least amount of screen time for anyone that's ever won Best
my
Actress.
God, her screen time, she was so good when she was on screen. There's a great behind the scenes thing there with holding up a that was one of the little handy cams back then. That lot smaller nowadays, but look at how heavy that camera was. But yeah, I mean, again, every scene she was in, she made it count. She made it count heavy. I mean, just great lines, and it wasn't just the lines; it was the way she delivered them. When she would throw a line out, you'd be like, "Oh man, she's just great."
Well,
So
that's the thing. Like, these guys, really embodied ranchers.
yes,
And,
oh yeah,
and that's no accident. I believe everyone except Patricia Neal spent time working on a ranch,
oh yeah, yeah,
like bunking with the hands, doing all the work, just so they could get the proper drawl to their speech, the
yeah,
proper gait, the proper calluses.
oh yeah,
Um, they, their roles were very physically embodied.
yeah. Well, if you look at them on horses when they're on horseback, everything they did, nobody looked. I've seen movies where somebody was playing a cowboy and it looks sad. It was you're like,
That
wow, this
man's
person
never been on a horse in their life.
exactly. And every one of them, when they sat a horse, I mean, you really believe that person had the experience. So how much they had, I don't know, but they sure whatever they had to learn, they sure learned it. But and there's some hilarious scenes in this. I love the scene. This is the bar fight scene, but I love that scene where HUD is encouraging Lonnie to go. There was a real cute girl at the end of the bar, and Lonnie's looking at her, and he says I wouldn't mind like hooking up with that, and he goes, well, why don't you go? And he goes, nah, no, I need to get to know a girl because he's actually a good dude, and so then he kind of wants to get a little closer. So he says, I'll put some change in the jukebox. And when he gets up there, the girl's smiling at him and he's smiling at her. And of course, she's got this big dude boyfriend right next to her. And the guy turns around, looks, and all of a sudden wants to start a fight with him. And that's a great line when Paul Newman, he sees the guy's getting on Lonnie. So he comes up there to defend him. And when he comes up, he's like, what's going on? And he's like, he's going, this guy is like, trying to make time with my woman. And he's like, well, he goes, I don't know. You didn't offer him any encouragement to the girl. And he says, because I was sitting way over there. And he says that I was getting encouraged. so, and that's that. Of course, that starts a huge fight. But
I know the scene, and the scene is integral in reestablishing HUD's role as a CAD.
yeah,
And a clear demonstration of his bad influence on Lonnie.
sure.
However, we have very different definitions of hilarious.
Well, yeah, we do. We do. The things that actually make me laugh a lot of times can make other people go, "Oh my God, why are you laughing at this?" But yeah, that is definitely true. What I will call hilarious sometimes.
But there were some really like scenes where I'm like, why is this a scene? Why are we watching this? Like the pig wrestling match.
Yeah. Well, again, it brought you right into what the
It
what
was
the
it was it was a
what
little
the
slice of
ranching.
life. It did not add anything to the story or HUD's character.
Well, it did. I think he was all about having a good time. Everything with HUD is it's have a drink, have a good time with woman, party, play with your buds. It was his whole thing was playtime, and he didn't take anything seriously in life. Nothing was, you know, nothing was prioritized. I mean, when he was furious when we got called out about the cows because they had lost some cows, and he was furious when he got called out there. He's like he's asking Lonnie why why does he need me back at the ranch over a couple of dead calves, and he says it better be something real serious. He gets out there, and then of course he's looking at the father like, well, big deal, a couple of dead calves. And of course the father again wants to do the right thing and calls the government, which of course is that scene behind you. It's not
Yep.
good. It's not good what happens. Um, the whole herd ends up, the government agent is actually a very good man, and he understands the implication for the rancher, and he has a lot of respect for the rancher. And when he actually has to kill all the cows, he lets them do most of the killing and help out with it, and he allows them to kill the two longhorns, which are that's a very important thing to Melvin Douglas, because those two represent old Texas and the old Texas cattle. um, and he kind of keeps those two cows on his spread just because it's something from his past, and from what the old ranching was about. And actually, one of the people who stars in this movie, we can't forget, he's actually in it. And this is actually a scene from Cool Hand Luke, but that's George Kennedy behind me with Paul Newman in another movie, Cool Hand Luke. But George Kennedy plays one of the government agents, and he spots the two longhorns, and he's like, these two weren't killed. We got to make sure we take care of those. And he really comes down hard on Melvin Douglas, like, I'm going to go kill these two right now. And Melvin Douglas is like, you're not. And he goes, you get off my ranch. And the head government agent has to tell him, back off. He's going to take care of it. And he actually respects him as a man, that he's going to do the right thing. But George Kennedy, again, a great character actor. Whatever movie he's in, you remember him. And this is certainly a little tiny role, but man, you remember him in this movie as the bad guy, the bad government agent. So, but no,
Evidently, they were very concerned about the cattle during the filming of this movie.
oh, is that right?
Yeah. They worked up all sorts of things, so it made it look like the cattle were being shot and slaughtered.
It did. It did actually. It was a very realistic scene.
They put bungee cords around their legs,
Okay.
so they gave a little tug.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Because like I said, I definitely thought that was a realistic scene. And by the way, a piece of trivia, I hope I'm not spoiling it if you have it, but Brandon DeWild, this is him behind me. This is a young Brandon DeWild. And what movie is that, Dom? A little bit of quiz. Do you know what movie that is?
Oh, that's Shane.
Yes, absolutely. And he was in Shane. He was the little kid in Shane. And he's, if you ever seen the movie Shane, I'm not sure whether you've seen it yet. We're going to do Shane. Shane's a great Western, and that is Shane behind me. And that's the little boy. And there's a very poignant scene at the end when Shane's leaving, and the kid really hero worships Shane, and he's running behind Shane's horse going, Shane, Shane, come back. So it's a great scene, but that is a young Brandon DeWild. So just a little bit of trivia there, but yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, what would you rate the movie if you had to give it a on a scale? What would you?
This is one of those movies where, you know, again, we've said it many times, we're not experts. We're not
no
filmography students or studies, or we just like film.
Yep, we're film lovers. That's it.
I absolutely did not like this film. It's bleak, it's depressing.
Yep.
At the end, nothing has ultimately happened except that, you know, the grandfather dying. It's like it certainly wasn't fun in any way. I will never see this movie again.
Wow, really? See, I've seen this movie several times in my life, and I would watch this movie right now if there was somebody that wanted to sit down and watch the movie with me. I would watch this movie right now. I love this movie. I love all their performances. It's a movie that when I think of Paul Newman and Cool Hand Luke and all these different ones, HUD's one of those characters that he played. I love him in this. He's absolutely
and you're
great.
absolutely not alone. Like, there's a lot of love for this movie. It's a very highly regarded.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, this is a movie that, man, I'd pretty much, you know, people always ask like, what's your favorite movie? And I hate that question. And I won't even answer.
Question.
It's an impossible question for a movie lover. If you really love movies like we do, it's like trying to say if you have a family of and you have 5 kids, it's like saying, well, which one's your favorite? Well, maybe you do secretly have a favorite, but you shouldn't say it. And you probably shouldn't.
Maybe your favorite changes.
That's right. And the same thing with
day
a movie.
by day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, depending on the kid's mood. If it's you know, you have a teenager, that mood might change. That might change every different day. But as far as this movie, I'll tell you what, I think I have this is probably solidly in my top 10. That's how much I love this movie. It's just I love everything about it. I love the time that it was set in. I love the fact that it's not a full blown Western because it's more of a modern Western, but it's still a Western in a way. And I love Westerns.
This is an anti-Western.
It's in some ways it is. You're right.
The main guy is no hero. There's nothing to defend against. The enemy is a virus.
Yeah.
And everyone loses in the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, you are right. And the weird thing about this movie, because by the way, the picture I put up behind me, not to change the subject, but the picture I put up behind me is that's Andy Griffith, and that is Patricia Neal, and that's another movie that Patricia Neal is known for. Again, she's been in so many great movies, but I got to get back to talking about yes, everybody loses, and the thing that is so sad with this is, as much as you come to almost hate HUD for some of the things he's doing, and there's Lonnie being kind to the father, HUD's father. They're out at the movies together, but the scene at the end, as much of a cad as Paul Newman is, when Lonnie finally gets shook of him and he really is done, and Paul Newman's looking at him and he's saying, "So what? You're quitting me too?" And he's walking away, and and he, he's Paul Newman's just left there alone. He's finally got the ranch, and he's got nothing else, just that ranch. And there's Lonnie leaving right there, with Paul Newman coming behind him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm quitting you too," and he just walks away. And Paul Newman saying, "Well, what do you want me to do with your share of the ranch?" And he's like, "Just put it in the bank." But yeah, you feel bad for Paul Newman. He's, he kind of brought it on himself in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
But at the same,
but brought what? Like tons of riches? He didn't really care that much about anyone. You said it yourself. He wanted, to drink, to carouse, and easy money. He got everything he wanted.
he did, and what's the biblical saying about what profit a man if he gains the entire world but he loses his soul? And he kind of
Yeah,
lost.
and so maybe in the afterlife there will be some reckoning, but
Well,
right
it's
now
not. It's
he's
not
on
even
top
the
of the
afterlife
world.
though. He did it to himself right there. Lonnie, he really did love Lonnie. Lonnie was his brother's son. He loved that kid, and he lost him because of how he behaved, and he
I,
lost and his father. He kind of resented the father. They butted heads, but I think he really loved his old man too. He was
you
just
you can think that, but I saw no trace of regret or remorse in
well,
anything.
well. I mean, yeah, you can say that, but like I said,
And this
I
is why I'm saying it's not a morality story, because normally in a morality story, people of good morals come out on top, people of bad morals get punished somehow, and that's the lesson. That's why it's a morality
right.
story.
Well, I
In
think
this case,
yeah,
nothing
but
bad happens to him.
no, it's first of all, I disagree because he's left alone, and I don't think he really wanted that. You remember this? You remember the scene where they're on the porch, and Lonnie says to the father, he says, "Hud asked me to come join him," because it was when he was doing the pig thing, and he
Hmm.
said, "Hud's never asked me to come with him." He goes, "Why do you think he did that?" And the father said, "Even Hud gets lonely." And he said, "Well, he's got all those women chasing him." And he goes, he says, those women, he said, "That's kind of a hollow thing." And he said Hud gets lonely too. And that's the thing, is that there's times where you really want something of substance. And the woman that he was chasing, I mean, it's a momentary pleasure, because it's not like he was marrying him. He
There's
wasn't.
there's a time when you want something of substance. And I can relate. There are definitely times when I want
Sure.
something of substance, but we can't project that on people we don't really know.
Well, yep, yeah, but again, it was actually stated in them. I'm not imagining that. That was stated as a line in the movie.
No,
Um,
I'm saying the father was projecting that.
yeah, but he knew his son enough. I mean, he actually, I mean, again, he said, and there was a reason why he asked. He said, "Why don't you come along, Fantan?" He was, he actually did. He liked the fact that kid admired him, and wanted to be like him and be with him. And I mean, that was
I think he had narcissistic tendencies. I mean, I think this guy could be clinically classified as a sociopath.
absolutely.
So I don't think he had any emotion toward
Well,
anyone
definitely
else.
had emotion, but sometimes it was anger, sometimes it was lust, whatever it was. I think he probably lived on emotion. But I love that we have this back and forth on this one. This is actually like a lot of fun that we have, because we were. I think you would actually did enjoy the movie, but you probably, even though it's something that you maybe not want to see again. But I love the back and forth we're having on this, because I think we disagree probably on so much of it, but it's a lot of fun. And
I mean, again, the good points.
yeah,
It's like many movies that you choose. It's a beautiful movie. It's
yeah,
cinematographically. I'm never going to pronounce that word, but it's almost perfect
yeah, yeah,
in the lighting, the framing,
yes,
beautiful.
yeah,
Like I said, the cast superb in their roles. They
yeah,
became those characters.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. This is a great scene right here. As hard as this one is in some ways to watch, because Paul Newman actually comes in. he's been wanting Patricia Neal for a long time. And he goes in drunk out of his mind. It's not an excuse, but he had drunk out of his mind. He goes in to get her, and Lonnie sees him going in there, and you know, whether or not he would have actually gone to the depth of rape, I don't know, but he's definitely in there after her,
So,
and Lonnie comes in and breaks the whole thing up. But
so a few things about the movie.
sure,
It's based on a book.
yeah, I did hear it was based on a book, but was it called HUD? Was the book called
No,
HUD?
it was called Horsemen Pass By.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay. Huh.
yeah.
Geez,
And
I'll,
in the book,
yeah,
HUD is a minor character.
really, really.
Yes. So why
Wow.
the screenwriters chose to change the story up to make him pretty much the dominant character?
Right.
I
Well,
don't know.
well,
I don't know what they
well,
were
it
trying
worked.
to do.
It worked for the movie. It certainly
In
worked for the movie.
in the book, the housekeeper was black,
Right.
and in the book, Lonnie was unsuccessful in fighting HUD off, and the
Oh,
sexual assault
that's
did
bad.
occur.
Yeah, that's bad. I wouldn't have wanted to see that in the movie. You know, the fact that the fact that it ended, the scene ended like it did, was, I mean, it was rough enough to just see HUD go to that level. Um, and he sort of apologizes to her the next day, but it's not enough. But I mean, he sort of apologizes. But and when he leaves after Lonnie chases him off, he says, "Well, he says you wanted her too," and he goes, "I didn't want her like that," and not in a mean way. That's Lonnie's response. But he HUD, unfortunately, like I said, he unfortunately does do what he did, and the scene at the bus stop, he actually says to Patricia Neal, he goes, "You're the one that got away," and but he actually really did. You know, I mean, he was actually crazy about the housekeeper there, but Patricia,
And again, this is where we differ. I do not think he cared about anyone but himself. Any
yeah,
interest in housekeeper was purely a manifestation of him getting what he wanted.
yeah, that I could probably agree with you there. I think because he was a man of he was a man of the moment and of lust. It was all about whatever made him feel good. So I agree with you there. I don't
Oh
think there was
yeah. One more detail in the book.
sure.
So at the end, Lonnie sees his grandfather
Yeah,
lying in the road,
right.
injured.
Yeah,
He swerves to avoid him, drives into a ditch. HUD rear ends him.
yeah,
They both run out and go to the grandfather, go to the
yeah,
ranch owner.
yeah,
And it's clear that his injuries are severe and that he's badly in pain.
yeah, yeah,
Recognizing that he needs medical care, they talk about getting him to the hospital, but neither car will work.
right.
So in the book, HUD tells Lonnie to go run for the road and flag down some help. As Lonnie's
I
running
thought he did
away,
in that. Yeah, I thought he did in the movie too. But
as Lonnie is running away, he hears a gunshot.
oh wow, okay,
Comes
yeah,
back to find HUD had shot the father
yeah,
and saying, "Look, I had to stop his suffering. I had to put him out of his misery."
right. Well, that's what you would have done to a horse. But I don't know. There's sometimes I wonder whether I'm kind of joking here, but I actually because I actually just recently there's been two dogs that in between friends and family that I've known of that we've had to put down, and it was very sad. Ones that were dearly loved, but I will say this much. This is a little off track, but I will say this much. Sometimes I think we treat our animals better than we treat human beings. But getting back to this, in the movie, he does tell them, go run out to the highway and get help, and the father actually says to him, no. he goes, like, I want Lonnie right here with me. And then that's when he says, I'm all done anyway. And of course, Lonnie's trying to say, no, Grandpa, you'll be all right. And he's like, no, and he goes, and HUD's not a patient man. And, which again, that actually, you didn't need to see the scene with HUD shooting him, because HUD obviously, I mean, who knows? You could almost see that HUD would go to that extreme. Now you're telling me that he wouldn't go to the lawyer, and on the other hand, you're telling me that in the book that he
No, no,
actually
no.
shot him.
In the book, he did go to the lawyer. The official proceedings had begun. In the movie, there's no indication of that.
I see. I disagree. I almost think there's a scene where you see him coming out of a lawyer's office, and then he catches up with HUD on the or Lonnie on the street, but I could be wrong. But in any case, I think he was serious. I think he was ready to. He was ready to put his father out of the picture. I don't think he was in the movie. I don't think he had the intentions of shooting him, but in the book, of course, he did. So
I have no intention of reading the book, so I have a feeling the book would be less enjoyable than the movie.
yeah, it's
But
to tell you the truth. After you said that, what you said about the housekeeper in the book, I don't think I'd want to read the book.
I feel that they really watered HUD's character down for the movie.
Yeah, well, and did it right, because he's as much of a cat as he is in the movie. At least nothing in the movie, because the worst scene, I keep going back to it, but the worst scene is the attempted rape. That to me is the most appalling thing that I found in the movie that bothered me the most about what he did, because everything else, I mean, chase and tail and the trying to go after the father's money was bad enough, but to me the attempted rape was probably the one that made me go, oh please, not that. But
you want to hear something difficult?
Yeah,
Off camera,
right,
during a break, Patricia Neal found
yeah,
herself sitting by the pool with Paul Newman,
right,
and they're just chatting. They hadn't known each other for that long. They just started shooting, so they
yeah,
didn't really know each other that well. Yet she starts opening up to him emotionally because
right,
a few months ago she just lost her daughter.
right, right.
Her daughter died, and
Okay,
she's kind of outpouring to him.
yeah,
And he looks at her, just looks at her and goes, tough, gets
yeah.
up and walks away.
Well, yeah,
She did not yet realize he was in character.
yeah. Well, Paul Newman was a method actor. He was of the method school, and which you get into your character. And I did read a little bit about that, because he warned people before the movie that he goes, once I do this, once I get into this, he goes, I ain't going to treat you nice. And he goes, I'm not going to be nice to be around. He was definitely of the method school, but there's a lot of great stories about, because he was actually, Paul Newman was probably one of the actors that, when you talk about actors that in real life, I mean, no, listen, we're all human beings, and people get on this thing of admiring an actor or actress, and then they get upset when they realize, like, wow, the person did this or that, and it's like, they're a human being just like anybody else. Just because they're a celebrity doesn't mean that they're holier than thou. But Paul Newman actually was one of the people that, I'm not saying he didn't have his flaws, because he certainly did, but he was actually, I mean, his marriage lasted. He was actually a pretty good family man. Paul,
Well, I
for the
mean, he
most,
started Newman's Own.
yeah, he was actually, he was ahead of his time, even about things like gay rights. One time he came out, he spoke out about that, and he was saying, it's nobody's business, like, what anybody does in their bedroom. And he goes out, he was always like that. I actually just recently read a kind of a funny thing. Got into a fight with his wife, Joanne Woodward, one time. Big bad fight. He said he was telling this to a reporter, and he said it's probably one of the worst fights they ever had. And he said, I'm all done. And he walked out of the house, and he was walking out. He walked out in the yard, stood there about an hour, like just pacing back and forth. And he went back to the house, and he knocked on the door, and she opened the door and looked at him, and he goes, "I don't got anywhere to go." He goes, "Can I come back in?" And she just laughed and let him back in. But you know, he was famous for saying, "Why would I go out for hamburger when I got steak at home?" He was very, very into his wife, and he was just, you know, he was a good family man. So,
Mhm.
you know, I'm sure he
Yeah, I
had his
mean,
flaws.
but believe me, I've got nothing bad to say about Paul Newman, and
Yeah,
his acting skills are beyond reproach. And I've said time and time again, as little as I like this movie, his
yeah.
performance was amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, and the two people right behind me, Brandon DeWild and Melvin
Well,
Douglas. I mean,
yeah,
stellar. So everybody in this movie just did a, you know, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I picked the movie. This is one of the reasons why I love it. It's I love this movie. I know I would give this 10 thumbs up if I had 10 thumbs. And I wish
this
I
is a
did just so I
movie
could.
that I don't know what to say about it
Yeah.
because, you know, it's
I
like,
encourage you, Dom.
I don't
Dom,
know
I
if it's
encourage you to give this 2 thumbs up.
I don't know if it's art, but I know what I like.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
also know what I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though this is so universally loved, I don't want to dissuade anyone else from seeing the
No,
movie.
because I would highly encourage. I encourage people to watch this movie so much that whatever Dom says, I encourage you twice as much to see the movie. It's a terrific movie, but don't
Trust
listen
me,
to Dom.
don't listen to me because I definitely have a different taste in movies. I was
Dom,
looking over our videos.
yeah.
When I choose the movie, it gets like maybe half the views as when you choose the
No,
movie.
that's not true. You there's
Look it
I,
over. Look it
I think
over.
I think I think a couple of the ones you chose have way more views than, but it doesn't matter. It's listen, I've said this many times, and that is a lot of times when you pick a movie, I end up liking the movie a whole lot. And I think, wow, I love this movie. So, but here's let me say this. I've said this before. Movies are like art, and they are art,
Right.
but movies are it's art is subjective. You can look at a Salvador Dali and say, "Oh, I don't understand that. I hate it." You know, you can look at a Picasso. You can look at a Rembrandt, whatever. Everybody's got different taste. So, I mean, what you like, you're entitled to what you like.
Mhm.
It's a valid opinion, and so if you like something that I don't like and vice versa, you're entitled to that. It's whatever reason you chose to like or dislike something. That's you know that's valid. So I'm not gonna fight you on that. I see
So,
what
but anyway, to sum up,
yeah
you know, would I recommend it or not? I don't know what to say
yeah
because, you know, I got nothing out of it.
right. Did you while you were watching the movie? Did you? I'm trying to I'm trying to make you admit you liked it. While you were watching the movie, were you enjoying yourself?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right.
this was horrible. Like the movie ended, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
it. Like, what did I just watch?
Okay. Well, I'm not going to fight you anymore on trying to convince you that you like the movie or not, because obviously you didn't. And it's, again, I fully grant you the valid, you know, opinion that you didn't like it. It's valid. So, so yeah, we like what we like, but,
Yep, yep.
hey, I'm glad you saw it. I'm glad that
I'm glad I saw it too.
yeah. I mean, and that, to tell you the truth, to me is, you know, it goes back to I still remember years ago your grandmother. I remember her. She used to always try to get us to try different types of cuisine. We would go to different restaurants, and she'd say, you know, just try it. I don't care if you don't like it. If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. I'm not making you eat something you don't like, but I want you to try it just so you have the chance to try it. And the same thing with film. I see people that go, oh, I won't watch a black and white movie, or I won't watch a movie that's got subtitles, you know, a foreign language movie. And it's like, you know, that bothers me, because it's like, don't shut yourself off. Let's try things. Let's at least,
Well, I mean, not everyone is a movie lover like we are.
no, that's true. That's
But
true.
like,
I
I
hate
never
watching
would have
movies.
seen this on
Yeah,
my own.
yeah,
And one of the things I value about this channel we're doing together
right.
is that, I'm going to watch almost any movie that you pick, and it's
Yeah,
going to be an experience like
yeah.
this one was.
Well, and they'll all be good movies.
It'll be great.
But no, I'm joking there. But yeah, like I said, I again I agree. I totally agree because you're getting me to watch movies that I wouldn't maybe otherwise see, wouldn't hear
As
about,
with the
or
next one.
okay. Okay, cool.
You forced my hand. This I found this movie so bleak and depressing
Wow.
that
Yeah.
I decided I needed to choose a movie of relentless silliness and joy.
Good. Good. That's another thing is I do think there's a real need for us when someone picks a movie and it is a heavy movie or even sometimes when it's a funny silly comedy, sometimes you just need that. Life needs pendulum swings. People don't realize that sometimes in life we get bottled up in whatever things that we're thinking of, causes, concerns, whatever, but it's like, be free and easy enough to swing different ways and enjoy all kinds of different things in life. It's variety is the spice of life. So I assume we're kind of coming towards the end of this. So
I think so, because I mean I just don't have much else to say.
well, yeah, and I think we did cover a lot on this. I still have plenty of pictures, but but other than that, I mean, I think we have. There's again Brandon DeWild, the young one, and the older one. Will probably end my
I mean,
pictures page.
it was tragic when I heard how young he died.
Yeah, that was definitely auto accident too.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, so getting off of this movie, since we are wrapping it up, what is Dom's pick for next week? Are we going to tell the audience? Are we going to? Are
Oh,
we
we're
going to
gonna
make the
tell
audience?
him.
We're going to tell them. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. So the next movie we will be discussing is
Okay.
the 2014 animated movie, The Lego Movie.
Oh wow. You know what? I have never seen it. I haven't seen it. So that's good in itself. And I will say I sometimes am a little slower with newer animation. Sometimes I'm a little slower to actually watch them, and sometimes I don't watch some of the newer ones.
And there's
So
no reason you would ever think about watching the Lego Movie. I just
yeah,
happened to come across it and saw it, and I was shocked at how good I thought it was.
really. Well,
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of like little clips of like Lego shattering, and I thought, wow, that's kind of really neat the way
yeah,
they
go in as
animated it.
blind as possible.
What's that? Oh, going as blind as good. Okay. Well, I'm pretty blind about it because I haven't seen. I probably have seen like one scene. So yeah, I am pretty blind on it. So that's cool. I'm glad you picked that one. And are there more than one Lego movie? Is there like
There are. Do not watch any of the.
okay,
Um, uh, I've seen two. Two is horrible.
okay,
I've heard good things about the Lego Batman movies, but I have not
okay,
seen them.
yeah. So the one you're saying is the 2000, or the one we're doing is the 2014 one. And
Yep.
hey, if anybody is still watching at this point, because they seem to sometimes cut out before we finish, but if anybody is still watching, watch it ahead of time because when we discuss it next week, then you can actually be the spoiler alert part won't count. You'll actually have seen it, and so we won't be spoiling it for you.
Anyone looking around for it, it's on Netflix currently.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good for me to know because I'll be looking for it. So I definitely don't own that one. Whereas Paul Newman's HUD, I own a lot of Newman movies on Vudu, but yeah, definitely that one. And I will say one more thing about not about the movie HUD, but I am a Western lover. I really like my Western movies. So there will be more of those down the road.
Oh, definitely. I've got some on my list as well.
Yeah, there's so many good Westerns, but anyway, with that, I think we should say adieu. and let's do it again next week, Tom. I had a
Indeed,
blast.
indeed.
I really enjoyed the back and forth on this one.
Mike, I love this channel. Love doing it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the most fun for me is watching the movie and then having the discourse that we have. And
Exactly.
whether we agree or whether we disagree, I think there's been a couple of times probably where people have maybe listened to us and thought, wow, these guys are kind of fighting, but we're not. We're buddies. I'm his uncle. He's my nephew. We're really
We're
good
just
friends.
passionate about movies.
Yeah, we love our movies, and we have strong opinions, and but we never. This is all good fun for us.
Yep.
We wouldn't do this channel if we didn't like each other. We're
Although I
buddies.
gotta say, we might get more viewers if we didn't like each other.
That's true. Maybe we should create this. We should probably create this persona where we really are fighting each other. And you asshole,
Mike,
damn it,
you again.
But yeah, that would probably be a good thing. That they'd be like, wow, these guys hate each other.
You gotta see these two.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's but I mean, they plot to kill each other. But no, like I said, it's good fun for us, and we definitely enjoy it. So, and anybody that watches, if you ever see us going back and forth, we're having fun. So
And we got lots of movies to talk about.
that's right. That's right. So there's no end to our there's no end to our awfulness. But anyway, we're gonna say bye for this week, and we really enjoy bringing this to you guys. If you can, please leave a like and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. Please, we really enjoy it, and we enjoy bringing it to you, and we really are grateful for any help and support with like I said, leaving those likes. It's a big help. Thank you very much. We appreciate you viewing. So Dom, I will see you next week.
See you next week.
See you next week for Legos. But all right, take care. Bye till next week.